Hey, we're Snappers, this is Tortimer the Great. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Minecraft Jurassic World Edition. Today we are going to be doing some work in the front of the park once again. Finally, our goal for a while now has been to finish the front of the park. And I guess I should mention, I told you guys at one point that once we finish the front of the park, we might consider doing a world download. I know I've had several people ask on multiple occasions about if and when we would ever do a world download. And I know some people were expecting it around episode 50, even though I never promised anybody, and in fact I explicitly said we weren't going to have one around episode 50. Oh gosh, I thought Key there was charging at one of the other trikes, but no, he was going at the scratching post. But I do think at this point, I think we're close to episode 80, if not, this might be episode 80? I don't exactly remember where we are numbers-wise, but we're so close to episode 100. What I think we're going to do is I think we're going to save the world download for episode 100 and make our goal to get as much done, especially in the front of the park, as we can by episode 100. So kind of our goal, get the front of the park done by episode 100, and we're going to work on some other stuff along the way as well. And yeah, because I think we're getting so close to that, we might as well just use that kind of as our milestone. So for those of you guys who have been interested in waiting, that is when that thing is going to happen. Now, as I kind of made that decision, I decided to do a little bit of planning for the park. So let's actually, I don't think I've got a dragon around here, so we're gonna have to actually go up these ladders. But I did a little bit of planning for the park. I went and I found a list of all the creatures found in the mods, and we've been doing a little bit of planning. So I kind of broke up the park. Now I know previously we've been talking about the back of the park, the front of the park, but now we're going to be starting to change our terminology a little bit, because we've got some future expansions that we've already kind of talked about a little bit, but have not even touched on at all. Especially, you know, like I've gotten a lot of questions lately, even about the Spinosaurus. Well, can we get a Spinosaurus? It's like, well, yeah, but the Spinosaurus is going in what's going to be now the west of the park. So if we open up our map here, so you know, this is north, east, south, and west. So the front of the park is now the south quadrant. The middle of the park, our original section with the Allosauruses and the Stegos and the Ankylosaurs and the Dilos, this is now the east of the park. This section, the back of the park, is now going to be the north of the park with the Gallimimus, the T-Rex, the Arseniatherium, the Brachiosaurs, and then we've talked a bit about, we've got the top of the park. That's still just going to be the top of the park. But then I've mentioned to you guys a couple times, we've got the Velociraptors and the Spinosauruses and the Sarcos, and some of this stuff is going out in what's going to be known as the west of the park, which is going to encompass kind of this whole area out here, going to go out into this desert. Some of our aquatic dinos, like the Mosasaurus, is probably going to end up in here, maybe. The Tylosaur is going to end up over in this waterway. I'm almost considering, honestly, now that I'm mentioning that, I'm almost considering moving the Plesiosaurs into something more like over here, and maybe putting the Mosasaurs or Tylosaurs up here. Only because they're so small now. Like before, they were big and they'd come up out of the water and you can see them, and they're so much smaller now, and they all just kind of hang out over here. They're not really a big front of the park kind of attraction, so I don't know. We might actually consider doing that at some point. I'm not totally sold on that. I just came up with it on the spot. But yeah, so I've just been doing some thinking and trying to plan out. Okay, so I went and found a list of the creatures and like, okay, as I'm working these things out in my mind, what creatures do we have available to us? What creatures do we need to make accommodation for? And especially because we're going to be working on something today. I don't think you can see it here. You might have seen it when we looked at the map, but I wanted to kind of get an idea of, okay, what kind of creatures do we have, and do we need to put places, and what should I be putting where, and etc. So we've got like the back of the, or the north of the park, I guess is the formerly known as the back of the park. We've got the T-Rexes, the Brontos or Brachiosaurs, the Gallimimus, the Arseniatheriums. We're going to be putting the Parasaurs back there as well, and then I do think the Ceratosaurus, it's kind of a smaller carnivore, probably, I guess, well, it's not, I guess, smaller compared to like the T-Rex and the Spino, probably on par in this mod in size with like the Allosaurus and stuff. If you watch Poet's stuff, Hachiko is a Ceratosaurus, and so we've got those guys, and I do think probably in the back of the park, so we've got this new section here that we're going to be doing behind all of this. So we've got the T-Rexes here, and then behind the Brachiosaurs and the Arseniotheriums, we've already started putting in this path. And like, this whole section back here is going to be far too big for one enclosure. So we'll probably will end up putting 2 new enclosures back here, the Parasaurs and then the Ceratosaurus or something to that effect. And I think that'll end up working out pretty well. But yeah, so that's the goal, to put another one back here. And yeah, so that's kind of the thought. West of the park is going to be this new section here out into the desert. And we haven't even loaded all of this. Well, we had loaded at one point, I think when I was messing with the server, hosting provided by Bisect Hosting, the server that we were using with our collab with Fabe when the expert came over, set up our interdimensional link. It messed up my journey map or something. Anyway, so yeah, we haven't explored out there on this yet, but there's space out here, and I think we can do a nice section of the park out that way. And we're going to be putting the Mosasaurs, the Tylosaurs, again, potentially the Plesiosaurs will be going out there in a place of one of these, but then the Spinosaurs, the Raptors, the Pachycephalosaurus, the Sarcosuchus, and then one of the new dinosaurs, the Therizinosaurus. They're kind of like, I don't even really know how to explain them. They're kind of like a giant, I don't know, it's a dinosaur, they've got giant claws and feather. It's a very interesting, unique looking dinosaur, and it's pretty large, and we don't have a lot of huge tracts of land available in some of these other sections of the park. You know, the front of the park is more or less established, the middle of the park is pretty much set up, and then the back of the park we've got a little bit of room, but I don't really want to spread infinitely out this way. Like, I want this to be kind of a contained sort of thing. It's already going to be a massive park, so I don't want to do too much of that. And then obviously we've got the dragons are going to be here, and then this hill will be part of the top of the park. So I think if need something with some bigger tracts of land, it's probably going to end up out in that undeveloped west portion of the park. We also have, then I split some of this stuff up. I was just kind of throwing stuff up on walls. It's like, we don't have a ton of space here, but the ACU towers are going to be kind of my command center. So we've got the east of the park. Out there we've got the Stegos, the Allosaurs, the Ankylosaurs, the Dilos. Those are all, you know, our original groups there. Then this isn't actually, it's not Leo, it's Lio, I think, but the Leopleurodons, Poseidon is currently missing. We actually do need to go looking for him. Oh, you almost saw it there for a second. Where's the... No, it unloaded. Leo's missing, and we need to find him, but we're also going to put the Ichthyosaurs out there. We've talked about that in the past. So the Ichthyosaurs, the ancient dolphin-like aquatic reptiles, they're small and peaceful. They're going to end up out in this kind of tide pooly area out here between the Rexes and the Stegos. We're going to bring this path out here, and maybe we'll put a little boardwalk around here as well. Kind of similar to what we did with the Parasaurs. So that's pretty much the east of the park. The east of the park is pretty well established at this point. And then we've got the top of the park. And I was kind of thinking, okay, so what things do we have left after we've put everything on the ground? And what things, I made some decisions, so I definitely wanted like the Smilodons, the Pterodons, the Terrabirds up there. And then we also had some other ones that we're going to plug in there. The Elasmotherium is a big woolly rhino. I don't have anywhere else to really put it. I could have put, I was trying to decide between putting it in the back of the park, or not really knowing where to put it. That was really kind of the only place I was like, man, I think we could probably do that. But it's a snowy dinosaur, so I can't really put it out in the desert. Even if we make like a snowy enclosure for it, I don't know if that would make a lot of sense. We could potentially, so, you know, we're going to develop out this area here. We could potentially put some things kind of around this corner between the north of the park and the west of the park, kind of northwest section there. But at this point, we've got this huge mountain here. So this is the iron farm. We've got this huge mountain here that I was thinking about putting the aviary on and stuff. I think we could also potentially fit the Elasmotherium up there. There's some good, decent space that we could probably make an enclosure for them. You know, at least on par with size of what we gave the mammoths. So I think that's what we're probably going to do. I didn't want to put the Elasmotherium out here because we had the Arseniotherium right here, and I didn't want to put... I wanted to spread things out a little bit more, and I wanted the top of the park to be more ancient mammal-y in the first place, so that's kind of what we're thinking. And then we've got, I threw the Herrerasaur up there. That's a smaller carnivore from the JurassiCraft, and I think that'll probably fit pretty well up there. South of the park then, which is now the front, which was the front of the park, and is still the front of the park, but just for purposes of getting it all straight in my mind, the south of the park now. We've got some things. So we've got the Trikes, the Carnos, the Deinonychus, and the Mammoths up there. We've also got the Plesiosaurs up there. But what we're going to be working on today is actually going to open up some of these other options. So the Hypsilophodon is Pippin, Quagga is an ancient horse, the Dodos. The Dryosaur is a new mob, a new creature added in when the radiation hit, some of those new DNAs from fossils and archaeology. The Dryosaur is basically, I went in creative and I hatched one in my creative world, and it basically looks the exact same as the Hypsilophodons, so we're going to kind of block those two together. And then we've got the Plesiosaurs, and then the Henodus is actually an ancient turtle. It's an ancient turtle, which is awesome. So I desperately want to find the DNA for that at some point. Anyway, guys, we spent too much time talking about this. I kind of wanted to give you guys a rundown as I've been thinking about and planning out the future. I was thinking like, okay, so want to project out to episode 100, you know, want to have the front of the park done by then, want to have a world download ready for you guys by then, all this kind of stuff. And I just kind of got thinking then about the different things we might want to do in the park with the dinosaurs and things like that. I did do a little bit of mining also since last time, and I figured we'd throw these fossils in, see if we can't potentially get some more of those DNAs, because like with the Henodus and things like that, several of these new fossils and archaeology DNAs we can get, we have not gotten yet. And so we'll want to go ahead and get these going, but then we'll set these kind of to render, and I'm gonna go then, let me just spread that out more. Let's do, okay, so let's just pop these in as many of these as we can, I suppose. Actually, I need to empty out this before I have the space to do that. Okay. We may have made too many subsections. We don't have enough, as many analyzers as we have, so I have to double up on these last couple. It's fine. And then let's go ahead and we'll just break this. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so then that and that and this, that, and perfect. Okay, so while those kind of cook up, we're not going to worry about those too much today, because I do want to go ahead and do some work up here at the front of the park. You guys have probably seen glimpses of it in both of the map, and you know, it's loaded in very sporadically throughout the episode, but today we're going to be working on the petting zoo, and we're only going to be working, but obviously we're halfway through the episode now. Yikes, we talked a long time, but it's, you know, it's interesting stuff. I mean, well, I don't know if it's interesting stuff, but it's stuff I wanted to go through with you guys, kind of give you guys a feel for what I'm thinking here as we go forward. But I kind of went ahead and I started work. Oh, it's the middle of the night, huh? Started work on the petting zoo here, and I kind of told you guys that this is where I wanted to put it, kind of up here at the front of the park, and I didn't want to make like a big formal permanent structure for this. The skeleton, I don't know, no, I guess that Bronto's facing the right way. I thought it looked like he rotated, but he rotated actually back. I keep having to fix these though, the skeletons up front. We used to have the Bronto and the T-Rex. Since the explosion, I can't actually seem to get a T-Rex fossil or skeleton to pop up, so we've got the Stego there for now. Yeah, they actually seem to be doing okay. Okay, so, but we've got the petting zoo, and so I've kind of put up this big, kind of, almost circusy looking, you know, tent. And so it's a tent kind of along the lines, I kind of liked what I ended up doing with the slopes and stuff out at the dig site. I fixed that tent a bit so that now my OCD is abated. We can actually see the tent in the overviewer. I really love how the dig site's like that. The pit looks amazing with the bridge and everything out here. I really love that. But we put up another one out here, and it's this big, you know, high top tent. And underneath it, what we're going to be doing is making just a nice informal little petting zoo. We're going to make some little pens, and we're just going to have some nice, so we've got some of these Carpenter fences. Let me grab tools pack. Ooh, that's what I wanted. Where's my hammer? So we've got these Carpenter fences, And what I was thinking was we've got so we've got a little bit of, this was a natural little water puddle here, and I was gonna go over it, but I actually think so. We looked at the signs there, and we've got things like the Hypsilophodon and the Dryosaurus and the Quagga and the Dodo and the Henodus and things like that now in the front of the park, the south of the park. We've got those guys now listed here, and I think some of those creatures now, some of them may eventually get their own enclosures as well. I'm not saying that like the Quagga is never going to have its own enclosure. My guess would be, honestly, that more than likely we'll see more Quaggas kind of in a herd in something like the Safari Zone that we're going to be building as a portion of this park at some point. But for now, some of these smaller, more docile creatures, I think are best suited, and we will probably get the most benefit out of them by putting them in this petting zoo so that the kids and adults and anybody who comes to the park can have the chance to interact with some of these ancient extinct creatures, which is something that I think, you know, if a park like this actually existed, I think even in like Jurassic World, the movie, there was a scene there where there was kind of like a petting zoo, and they had like the baby trikes and the baby stegos and stuff like that that the kids could play with. I'm thinking almost along those lines, not quite as interactive, obviously, probably, but you know, a standard petting zoo. I think if you were going to come to a park like this, you would want to get hands on a dinosaur. Like, you would want to touch a dinosaur. You would want to touch, you know, some of these extinct creatures. And so I think that's basically what I want to go for here. Now, hold on. I did put path stuff in here. Yes. Yeah. So if we go ahead and we assume that, so like this post is kind of in the dead middle of the tent. So let's assume kind of maybe a path coming in this way. And obviously we'll do this a little bit nicer here. But it's a smaller path, not quite as massive as our normal paths. But we'll go ahead and just pop this in for a moment so we can kind of have an idea of where the flow would come from. Now we might change this up just a little, and it might also actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it might actually make more sense. So like with the tower, the ACU tower, and even what I've done, where is it? So the Badlands Bar and Grill, so we brought this path up the hill a bit, but then it kind of breaks up into a gravelly kind of path into that. It might make more sense, since this isn't a permanent structure, to not actually even have, not actually even do this. I'm changing my mind on the fly. We might not actually even do this, because it might make more sense for us to eventually just go ahead and make kind of that same gravelly kind of path to and in and around this tent. So there we go. There we go. I've made an executive decision. That's actually going to stay there. But the goal will be, so we've got some of these creatures, the Hypsilophodon. So we've got Pippin out at the dig site. The Hedendus is a little aquatic turtle. And so I was thinking this pond here, and in fact, let's grab, I think I had some sand. Yes, we do have sand. So I was thinking then, you know, you go to like, if you go to a zoo or something, generally speaking at a zoo, there's usually like an aquatic area. They'll be like, oh, you know, come on into the little tide pool. I think if you guys saw, if you guys went and saw Finding Dory at some point this summer, they had something similar there. That's pretty common at aquariums and things like that. They'll have like a little tide pool where you can kind of reach in and you can pet, you know, a starfish or something. Or even like they'll have them where you can stick your hand in and kind of pet, you know, they've got these little docile sharks or whatever in there. Or stingrays or something like that. Just little tide pool type areas. And I was originally planning on having Nautilus out here for people to be able to do that with. But apparently now, somebody was saying in the comments at one point that even if they're name tagged now, Nautilus will despawn, which is stupid, because the whole point of name tagging things in Minecraft is to keep things from despawning. So I'm not sure why they decided to make an exception there for the Nautilus. Maybe it's just a bug, but the fact of the matter is currently Nautilus will despawn even if named. So we can't put Nautilus out here. I'm not going to just constantly be replenishing the stock of Nautilus. But what we can do is this Henodus is actually a fairly small, flat-shelled kind of sea turtle sort of thing. At least so far as I can tell. I did hatch one in my creative world just to kind of get a feel for it. It is relatively small, and I think it would actually probably work pretty well in this setting in place of the Nautilus, or even in addition to... Oh, well, we're out, huh? Guess I should grab more than a stack of sand. Well, I'll go get some more, but we'll probably make this a nice shallow little pool. The Henodus will be more than happy to hang out in here. And we'll be able to get a couple of them in here, and then the little kitties can come around. We might shrink the size of this pool just slightly, but I think for the most part that's probably going to work out for our purposes. And then, you know, from there we've got these Carpenter barriers, and we'll probably set up pens. You know, the goal would be to have them both in and out of this enclosure. So, and we're going to mess with the design of these. So, you know, do we want just fences that look like this? We use this kind of fence a fair bit on like the visitor center and stuff. We have this in a couple of places. Not really anywhere that people are directly interacting with it in the same way that we would be doing now. But we also have the option of, you know, we can do like this white picket fence looking thing, which I don't know if I love, but it's definitely an option. So we could do that. I accidentally clicked into that one, but I also kind of like this one, which actually I might like that even better than the white picket fence one. So take white picket fence off the table. We could do something like this, and I actually really like that. But we could do that. It still allows you decent visibility over it. The creatures wouldn't really be able to get out of it more than likely, but you would still have decent visibility of them. Probably, I mean, this is a little lower, so I guess you could see over them. Although I'm using these fences for the posts here, as I've done with most of this kind of stuff. And so probably don't want to use that same exact type of fence again. So, but I mean, this one also grants pretty good visibility, so it just kind of depends on what we want to do. I could be persuaded either way. I'll probably do a little bit of testing one way or the other. It's easy enough to change once they're up. You could just hit it with the hammer and then they'll be back. But, you know, we'll put them a little bit, you know, because I don't want all the creatures to be stuck forever underneath this high top here. Let's go ahead and do this. Get this off the bar, grab our axe. And so I want to have a little bit of a mix of both in and out of the tent. And we'll just have these different pens. We'll have a pen for the Dryosaurs and the Hypsilophodons. We'll have a little patch for the Quaggas, and well, the Quaggas will probably be by themselves. Then we'll have a little patch for the Dodos, and it'll just be kind of the thing. We'll have some paths weaving around it. My goal would ultimately be to set it up so, like when you normally go to a petting zoo sort of thing, you know, normally got things like, you know, goats and stuff there, but they'll have these little feeders. You know, you walk in and you put a quarter in it and you turn it and you get a little hand of like alfalfa pellets or whatever that you can feed to the goats. And so I was thinking we could put little droppers kind of by, you know, each entrance. So maybe if we're going to have like an entry point over there and an entry point here, we'll have the little path come in, and on either side of the path we'll have I was gonna say we could have either, you know, carnivore feed or herbivore feed, but I don't know. I'd have to look into what the Henodus eats. Chances are it's going to be more of a carnivore. So either way, we'll have options of food so that guests could come in here, they could click the button, get a dropper to expel a little bit of food, and then they could go feed the different animals. I think it'll be really cute once it's all said and done. Obviously, we'll have to play around with it a bit. Let's actually go. And I want to see, realistically, now I do have block breaking off, so far as I understand it, but let's go ahead, oh, and Casper's even here, perfect. Let's fly back to the dig site really quick, and I want to get Pippin, and I just want to bring Pippin up, because Pippin is our Hypsilophodon, and I think he's the only currently existing, currently alive, occupant of this future section of the park. Ooh, some creepers up there. Watch out. And so I'd love to see him kind of in the actual habitat here, just to kind of see. The Smilodon's there. There's Pippin. Alright, so let's sit down here, Casper. Oop. And grab one of our Pokeballs. Hey, Pip. Welcome aboard. And I don't want to put boring things like cows out here. The Quagga is probably the most boring thing we're going to put out here. And it's really not even a boring... I mean, it's just... basically, it looks like a Minecraft horse with a different skin. But I think the rest of it should be pretty interesting. You know, just thinking from the mindset of, like... somebody who would potentially be coming to a park like this, you know, trying to get an idea of, okay, what smaller creatures would be... I mean, obviously, oh, well, we've got the Velociraptors. They're a nice small creature, but we don't want to put Velociraptors in a petting zoo, right? I mean, that just probably wouldn't work out quite as well as we would maybe imagine. So, trying to find those creatures that are both small and docile that we could potentially use out here. So, we do this, and there's Pippin, and yeah, I mean, he's so cute, and he fits perfectly there. People could come up and rub his little head, and then they could just move on. And we'll get him a mate. Obviously, the goal would be probably, well, we might split up the Dryosaurs and the Hypsilophodons, if only because I want to have one of each, or I guess two of each, so that they have you know, some sort of companions there. And I think maybe 4 in a pen might be too much. I don't know. But yeah, okay, so this is what I wanted to see. Is he going to be pretty much locked into forever getting over there? He obviously can't, and he's not going to break through it. Now, come here, Pip. Come here, Pip. Oh my god, he's so cute! He's so cute! But yeah, I don't hate this fence either. I don't hate that fence either. Oop, I picked it up. Can you get that? Oh yeah, there's a good boy. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm thinking. And I'll probably do some more work with it off camera. I spent a little bit too much time actually explaining to you guys kind of how I was breaking things up in my mind, and so I apologize for that. Ooh, wait, before we break, we do have a couple of... I mean, I can make this episode as long as I want. This is a good length, but I do want to quickly check. We spent the time throwing those fossils into the analyzers. Let's go back and check and see if we've got anything interesting there. So Pippin's kind of installed more or less. I'm going to do some more work on that, getting the pens laid out, and then maybe next episode or so, if we have any of the DNAs that we need for putting up there. I do think we have Quagga and Dodo now, thanks to the tar fossils. Ooh, not in there. That's not what I'm doing. Oh yay, all bone meal. How exciting! Let me actually clear out my inventory a little bit here. Let's go ahead and that. We're just gonna throw that in there for now. Okay. Alright, so now let's... Okay, so that was all bone meal, so that's exciting. T-Rex... Nope. Pleurodon... Nope. Although if we can't find Poseidon, that might end up being useful. Another Leopleurodon. Man, it's like they're trying to tell us something. Maybe we need to go... we should really not be terrible owners and actually go look for some of our lost dinos here at some point. Man, lots of bone meal and sand, huh? That's unfortunate. Dino, trike, cobble, bone, Spino. Ooh, 50% Spino. I forget how much. I know we found Spino DNA at least one other time. Another Leopleurodon. Okay, so well, maybe next episode we're going to be going to look for, see if we can't find Tabasco and and Poseidon. Wow, so nothing interesting at all, really. That's kind of disappointing. A bit of a waste of a run, I guess, but that's okay. Okay, well, guys, thank you so much for watching. Unfortunately, that didn't pan out. I was hoping we'd get maybe some of those new DNAs to potentially do something with, but apparently that was not in the cards. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Tortimer the Great, and you guys have been great. I'm going to go ahead and get all of this stuff. Oh my gosh, we got so much extra DNA in here that we need to sort out. Oh, that's our Cygniotherium. They actually finally gave them a little icon. That works. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Tortimer the Great, and you guys have been great. Make sure to leave those likes, comments, subscriptions for me, guys, and I will see you guys all back here next time as we probably, hopefully, maybe get some more things birthed and maybe installed in the petting zoo. We'll see if we can't get maybe some dodos and some quaggas, do some Ice Age stuff next episode. Might be interesting. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one.